Okay, shalom, 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 shalom. We're getting to you with the late edition of the Torah reading from Mikeitz, which is Genesis chapter 41, verse 1, all the way to Genesis chapter 44, verse 16, with the Haftarah portion coming from 1Kings chapter 3, verse 16, through 1Kings chapter 4, verse 1. And the Brit Chadasha section coming to you from Romans chapter 10, verses 1 through 13. All right. So we did have our Sabbath convocation and prayers already. So now we're coming back on here again to do the Sabbath reading. We didn't do the reading yet. Shalom, shalom to all the brothers in Brazil, Mexico, all the sisters in America, all the brothers in India. Hallelujah. So yeah, we in this Torah portion, and we're gonna do chapter 41, verses 1 through 14. I'm gonna read verse 1 through 14. For time's sake, I'm gonna read the sections in the Hebrew, and the other readers are gonna come forth and read the sections, the sections that I've read in English. In English also. All right, so we're going to get started. Okay, 1 through 3. Wa Yahaya Makwat Shanathiam Yamayim Wa Parai Khalath Wa Hana Anka Ayel Shalaklia Wa Aimad Ayel Hayar Wa Hana Man Hayar Man Hayar Ailath Shabai Parwath Yapawath Maraah Wa Barayath Bashar Wa Dara'ai Yanah Ba'akaw Wa Hana Shabai Parawath Akarwath Ailwath Akar Yahan Man Hayar Ra'aywath Ma Ra'ah Wa Dakwawath Bashar Wa Da'aimad Na Atzal Ha Parwath Ael Shapath Hayar. Okay, and it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, well-favored and fat-fleshed, and they fed in the reed grass. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-favored kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh woke and he slept and dreamed a second time. And behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 ears thin and blasted with the east wind sprang up after them. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. Y'all see that? See the difference in the reading? See how differently it makes you feel? How differently it catches your ear? When I just read like you like, okay, I'm kind of, but then when I read with the words and with energy, you feel differently when the words touch your ears and your heart, right? And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream. But there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Then spoke the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I make mention of my faults this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants and put a nigga in jail. Put him in jail. And put me in the ward of the house of the captain of the guard, me and the chief baker. And we dreamed the dream in one night. I and he, we dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was with us a young man, a Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard, and we told him. And he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream did he interpret. And to us, and it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was, I was restored unto mine office, and he was hanged. And Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came in unto Pharaoh. Okay, that's my section, verse 1 through 14. Next reader is going to be Amadia. Before he reads, though, I'm going to before he reads, I'm going to read the section. Before he reads, I'm going to read the section of the law. All right, verses 1 through verses 15, 16, 17. So, what's your name?
Amari ban Parashah ban.
Hey, Madwa. Taking too long, man. Say it again. Hurry up.
Amari ban Parashah ban God ban Yeshua.
Hey, Madwa. Badakwa. Let me read the verses 15 through 17 real quick. All right. 15. Wayamar Ai Ali Yawasap Halawam Kalmathia Wa Parath Ayan Atwa Wa Anya Shema'aithya Aliaka La Amar Vashemar Khalwath La Parath Atwa Waya'ain Yawasap Ath Para'ai La Amar Bala'aidia Alahayim Ya'aina Ath Shalom Para'ai Wa Yadabar Para'ai Al Yawasap Ba Khalamya Hananya Imad al Shabath Ha Ya'ar. Is it 15, 16, 17? Okay, it's the last one. Wayadabar Para'ai al Yawasap Ba Khalamya Hananya Imad. Okay, I just read that. Okay, so we finished already, man. 16, 17. We finished. All right, so you go ahead and read from verse you got 15:38. We can switch places real quick too. All right, go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee, that when thou hearest a dream, thou canst interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. Elohim will give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh spoke unto Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the brink of the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, fat-fleshed and well-favored, and he fed it in the reedy grass. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them, poor and very ill-favored, and lean-fleshed, such as I never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. And the lean and ill-favored kine did eat up the first 7 fat kine. And when they had not, when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, that they were still ill-favored as the beginning. So I awoke, and I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came upon one stalk, full and good, and behold, 7 ears withered and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them, and the thin ears swallowed up the 7 good ears. And I told unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it to me. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream is of Pharaoh's one, what Elohim is about to do, he hath declared unto Pharaoh. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one, and the 7 lean and ill-favored kine came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind, they shall be 7 years of famine. That is a thing which I spoke unto Pharaoh, and what Elohim is about to do, he hath shown unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land, and the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine which followeth, for it shall be very grievous, and for that dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by Elohim, and Elohim will shortly bring it to pass. Now, therefore, let Pharaoh take out a man discreet and wise.
Look out. 34.
And set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint overseers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in 7 years of plenty,
Which is 20%.
and let them gather all the food of these good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh for food.
Corn meaning grain.
In the cities, and let them keep it, and the food shall be for a store in the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this, a man whom the spirit of Elohim is? Verse 38.
Okay, fine. All right, so here we see a balance. We see left and right, up and down, good and bad, starvation and provision. We see skinny and fat. And that's how it is with the Most High. Let's say with the months, we see a black moon at the beginning, and then we see a white moon at the middle. He created darkness at the beginning, and then he created the light. He had 1, and then he goes to 7. Then at 7, he said, we're going to stop. We're going to start over again. Darkness at the beginning. Darkness begins the day. Okay. Darkness begins the month. All right, with the dark moon. So these are principles. The Most High isn't mixing them. He's not mixing things together. So that's the Genesis concept that we have to look at. Even with the skinny and the fat cows, it still goes back to Genesis. The skinny cows is represented by what? Light or darkness. The skinny cows are represented by the darkness, and the fat cows are represented by the what? By the light, which is the positive, which is the good. So the Most High uses this pattern all throughout the Bible. And you can see the pattern with who? With Peter and Judas, Yahushua and Satan, right? Yahushua and Satan, with the good kings of Israel and the bad kings of Israel. Even with Solomon's son Rehoboam, when the counselors talked to him, he had the old counselors that gave him the good advice, and then he had the young counselors that gave him the bad advice. This is the theme throughout the whole Bible. So now when it comes to the new moon, we can't mix and say, well, It's not light and dark no more. It's not black and white no more. It's a black mixed with a little bit of white. Then the middle of it is going to be what? Full white. Well, middle of it can't be full white if you're going off the balance that the Most High teaches us from Genesis. If you got a little crescent mixed with a little bit of white, that means you should have a lot of white mixed with a little bit of black, which is called a what? Which is called a waxing gibbous, right? So you should have a waxing gibbous as the beginning of the month. I mean, the beginning of the middle of the month, as opposed if you got a crescent moon on the right side, a waxing crescent as the beginning of the month. This is simple Genesis chapter 1. All right, Genesis chapter 1. It starts with the darkness. The day starts with the darkness. The story of the Bible starts with the darkness. The month starts with the darkness. The Sabbath starts with the darkness. All right. At no time did the Most High give us a cycle of time beginning with light. And it's the same thing with that moon. So brothers want to talk about the full moon, or brothers want to talk about the crescent moon, or brothers want to talk about the half moon. That's not where it's at. It begins with the darkness, according to Genesis chapter 1. And when you go throughout all of the Bible, we already in the 41st chapter of the Bible, and we see the same theme: contrast, opposites. Not, what do you say? He didn't say 5 good years and then 4 so-so years and then 5 bad years. He didn't mix in the middle a little bit of so-so. He said, no, 5 good years and 5 terrible, horrible, bad years. Okay? It's no in between. What Jacob did to his brother Esau was wicked. What Esau did was righteous. Esau said, I'm going to go and hunt for my father and bring him food. Jacob said, no, I'm not going to go and hunt. I'm going to trick my father. I'm going to listen to my mother, and I'm going to lie to my father to get what I want, to get what my mother wants me to have. And that's what he did. There's no in between. In this case, the actions of Esau were righteous toward his father Isaac, and the actions of Jacob were what? Were wicked toward his father. Let's look at Rachel. Rachel stole her father's idol and sat on it and didn't give it to her father. Her actions were wicked, right? Her actions were wicked. So there is not this gray area of black and white mixing in the Bible. It's not a gray area of mixing black and white in the Bible. So when you come to the moon and we see Genesis chapter 1, the Most High gave us the stars here to divide the light from the dark. There's a division between the light and the dark. And we see from Genesis, beginning with chapter 1, that the darkness was created, and then the contrast to that was always to light. There wasn't like a blending of them together. And when they blend together, we still know that the day is ending, and then we're going into a new month. So the twilight at nighttime is equivalent to the crescent moon, to the waning crescent moon. Okay, to the waning crescent moon, and then the darkness of the night is the equivalent to the black moon. And then the sunrise, when you have a little bit of light coming across the horizon in the morning, that's the equivalent of the crescent moon starting to wax on the right side of the moon. It's already begun the new phase. Everybody understand what I'm saying? So it's already begun a new phase. So we have to look at this and understand this, that Genesis in the Bible is a spiritual book. And if you don't understand the Torah, if you don't start from the beginning, you're not going to understand it. A lot of you brothers and sisters out there want to be cheaters. You want to start to understand the Bible from Genesis 3, from John 3:16. And then when you accept Christ, Yahushua, the Messiah, now you want to start with studying Paul and study. No, you got to go right back and start with what? How does John 1:1 start? In the beginning was the Word. So we go right to understand the Word. We got to go back where? It's not a mystery. It tells you what? In the beginning was the Word. So if I want to understand the Word, I got to go back where? To the beginning. What's the first word of Genesis? Bereshit, Bara'ashat, which means in the beginning. Everybody see that, right? So there is no shortcut. See, black people, Hispanic, Latino people, white people, all people like what? They like shortcuts to education. They don't want to take the time to learn and to study. They want you to tell them and you to give them answers to the questions that they have. That makes you smart and makes them, look at you as if you're smart. but you're giving them your answer of what you see. I'm telling you to go to Genesis and read and start there for yourself, and you'll see the answers. But if you're not keeping the Torah, you're not keeping the commandments, you ain't going to understand Joseph. You ain't going to care about Joseph. You ain't going to see nothing important about what Joseph is saying. You ain't going to see what Pharaoh is saying. You're not going to understand the dream or see the dream or nothing. Why? Because you want a quick microwave answer in the 3-day slow roast cooked lamb world. We come from a 3-day slow roast cooking world. We come from a crock pot world. We don't come from a microwave popcorn world. We come from a crock pot world where the food sits and it cooks and it marinades and it gets juicy and it falls off the bone. We don't come from a land of tough microwave chicken, tough microwave fish tasting like rubber. We come from slow cooked, roasted. Or you want to learn real good? Bam, let's throw you in the fire. Let's fast and pray and read and study this thing for 3 days. That's the frying, okay? So the Bible is a spiritual book, and you can't understand it from carnal eyes. If you don't use the spirit of the Most High of obedience, and that's why you look at Romans chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 3, why you got so many different understandings, so many different arguments, and so many different doctrines. Why? Because the people are walking in the flesh, not in the spirit, not being obedient, not doing what the Torah says, but they want to understand the Torah. They want to understand what the Most High is saying. But you cannot understand the Most High with carnal mind. You will not understand the Most High in this Bible that I'm talking to you about if you do not walk in and keep the law, statutes, and commandments. This is not come in and check it out, window shop, and then go back. Oh, that's not for me. No, you got to be fully committed to the Most High. It's like when you take a woman, when the Most High takes you, it's like he's taking a bride. You don't go out and test a woman, take her virginity, and then say, nah, I don't think I want that one. I want to get me another one. Once you fully commit yourself to the Most High and you dedicate it to a relationship with him by submitting and obeying him, then he says, man, Amaria is fully dedicated and submitting to me. Let me open up my treasuries to him. Here, Maria, which one you want? You want this one? Which one you want? All right, which one you want? You want the gold? You want the gold ring with the diamond, or you want the onyx, or you want the ruby, or you want the or you want the ruby? All right, which one do you want? You see what I'm saying? So that's the way we look at the Bible. The Most High is consummating his relationship with us through his son Yahushua and what? His blood. Coming to Yahushua is like the hymen getting broken. The blood is spilled for us, right? Once the blood is spilled for us, what are the terms of the covenant? What are the terms of the relationship? Is the law of Yahweh. If you do not keep the law of Yahweh, you're going to have a jacked up marriage. You're going to have a messed up marriage with the Most High because you're still questioning and trying to understand the relationship without committing to your Lord, which is Yahushua. Once you fully dedicate and commit yourself to him, now you can understand the terms of the contract. Everybody follow me? Okay. All right, so let's go into what's the next section? Is going to be chapter 30, Genesis chapter 41, verse 39 through 52. You call them up. Come on.
All right, I'm gonna pause up like that thing, inshallah. Remember, Barak, that Barak coming how about Shem Shai?
Yeah, Barak came how about Shem Shai. All right. All right, so chapter 30, verses 39 through 52, 39, 40, 41. I'll read 39, 40, 41. Wayamad para'ai al yawasab akhariya hawa rayai alahayim awathka ath kal za'ath ayan nabwan wa Chakam. Okay. Ka Mawak. Atha Dahaya Ayal Bayathya. Wa Ayal Payaka. Yashak Kal Anya. Rak Hakasa. Anak. Who's a Agdal Mamka. Was it 38? 40, 41, right? That's just 41. Wa Ya'amar Para'ai Al Yawasap Ra'a Natanya Athka Ayal Kal Aratza Matazariam. Okay, you go ahead.
Genesis chapter 41, verse 39. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as Elohim hath shown thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be great.
Hold on 1 second. That word for throne right there is kasa'ah. Kasa'ah means covering, means throne in this context. Kasa'ah means throne. What does the throne cover? What does the throne cover? What's the symbol of the throne to cover what? The kingdom. It covers the whole kingdom. That's what kasa'ah means. That throne represents my covering, my authority over the whole kingdom. That's the word kasa'ah, as we see it being used here. So the word throne, kasa'ah, means it's a covering. All right, it's a covering for the whole kingdom, represented by the throne, which is sat upon by what? By Pharaoh, or by the king, by the leader. So that's the covering over the whole kingdom. That's what protects the kingdom. That's what shields the kingdom from embarrassment, from shame, and from nakedness, by being covered by the throne. So the word kasa'ah does not mean, a lot of people don't understand this word because they're not looking at it as it develops throughout the Hebrew. You can't always use, the Strong's and Jacinius's lexicon. You can't always use the Blue Letter Bible to understand the law and the words of the Most High. Sometimes you actually got to read and see words like this and then say, oh, this is the same word that means cover that I may see in this book over here. And then you'll say, okay, let me look at this book. And then you'll say, okay, I'm gonna use the Strong. But what do I do when I use the Strong? I'm gonna open up the book and I'm gonna use a Bible that has English and Spanish. I'm not just gonna use the Bible when I'm really trying to understand the scripture, because the Spirit don't lead me to do that. That's like you reading in Spanish and I'm reading in English and this brother reading in Portuguese. We ain't gonna get the same understanding because this word has been translated into 3 different languages now. Only way we're gonna understand it together is if we go into the Hebrew and we can understand it from what the Hebrew says, and we can understand it from what the Hebrew gives it in other, and what the Hebrew gives it, how that word is used in other parts of the book. So you have to look at the Hebrew. You have to look at the Spirit of the Most High, the Spirit of Yahweh. If you don't, you won't understand it. And above all, to understand the law, you have to be doing what? Come on, I can't hear you. I can't hear you now. Yell it. To understand the law, you got to be keeping the law. If you ain't keeping the law, what you trying to understand it for? If you ain't fully dedicated to a relationship with Yahweh and Yahweh, what are you trying to understand his word for? You like somebody trying to understand the bra size, the waist size, the shoe size, the hat size, the ring size of a woman you never, ever, 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 ever gonna get in all of eternity. For what? You wasting your time. You got so much interest and fascination in the Most High. Start with what he said to do. And once you get on that path, you will know there's no more doubt. See, brothers have doubts now. Why? How can you have a doubt when you're in a relationship with the supreme King of Kings? That shows that you ain't dedicated and committed to the relationship. Or if you say, you know what, man, I thought my king wanted him. I thought my king liked tilapia. I thought my king liked salmon. I found out that my king really likes rainbow trout. How are you in a relationship with this man and you don't know what he expects of you? Because you ain't really dedicated. Because you hoeing around. You dealing with different nations, different philosophies, namely money and religion, or disobedience, which is unto Satan, which is as a sin of witchcraft, rebelling against the Most High. You see that? So you got to be fully dedicated to this thing, man. Then you'll understand. You want the understanding of the relationship before you come into it. It don't work like that. You come into it first with your whole heart. As what? As a little child. And then you kill yourself spiritually, all your thoughts and all your ideas, and you kill that old man. You don't kill the old man on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, okay, on Snapchat, on Kicker if they're still using that. You kill the old man like that. You kill the old man by humbling yourself to the words of the Most High and reading his laws. That's how you kill the old man. There's no other way. And you don't kill him part-time. Well, I'm going to go to work. I got to get off 3 hours and come. You don't kill him like you kill him by dedicating yourself to a set time period for a set length of time. Saying, you know what? I got to get right in this relationship. All right, go ahead. Finish reading. Call your verse. Sorry.
Genesis chapter 41, verse 41. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his signet ring
up a little bit.
from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck, and he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him, Abrek,
which means bow, or blessing.
And he set him over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or his foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paneah, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. And Joseph went out over the land of Egypt. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh, and went throughout all the land of Egypt. And in the 7th year of plenty, and in the 7 years of plenty, the earth brought forth in heaps.
Let me say this. When Joseph went out with Pharaoh, okay, this was done on the new moon. When we look in Psalms chapter 81, verse 5, it tells us this was done on the new moon. And when we look at the history, the trumpets were ordained to be blown from this event right here. The Most High said, blow the trumpets on the new moon based on what's happening with Joseph right now. Which leads some people to believe that perhaps this event happened on the first day of the 7th month, which is called what? The memorial of the blowing of trumpets. Which means that Psalms chapter 81, verse 3 is actually talking about the covering of the moon on the feast day of the memorial of the blowing of trumpets. Okay? Which would mean also that if you're looking at this happening in Egypt, now we have a question. Well, was it on a white new moon or the crescent new moon or the black new moon? Well, if it was in Egypt and the Most High Yahweh ordained us to keep the new moon with the blowing of the horn on the first day of the month, it had to be on the black moon if Joseph is in Egypt. Why? Because the Egyptians kept the new moon when it was black, not when it was white. What? The Egyptians kept the new moon when it was black. Not at the crescent, but after that last crescent appeared on the right side, on the left side of the moon. But before the crescent appeared on the right side of the moon. So they did it after the waning crescent and before the waxing crescent. That's when this event right here is happening. And I hate to interrupt, this the reading to point this out, but I have to kind of jump in there and teach the doctrine from the Torah as we come across these different examples that show us when things were done and how. Can you understand that? Because your topical breakdowns should be based on the Torah. So when you see your topical breakdown, when you see your topical breakdown, from the Torah, and then you run across it from the Torah, I think you should stop and bring it out, because that's the purpose of the Torah, is to clarify doctrine. So now we see that Joseph just went out from Pharaoh, right? Joseph. So when we go to the book of Psalms, chapter 81, verse 3, it says, Dakwai Bakadash Shawapar. So blow on the month, all right, the trumpet, which is the new month. Okay. Then it says Bakasa, which means at the covering. Then it says La Yawam Chagnawa, on the day of our feast. Now, notice it does not say Kagyanawa, which would mean our feast, plural. So when I look at this more and more, I'm tending to believe that it's referencing us to a specific day. Because remember, we've already established the fact that several things we see going on with Joseph and with our forefathers. Later, we see these things becoming laws. We see these things becoming statutes, and we see the foreshadowing coming from Pharaoh, or coming from Joseph, or coming from Jacob. Like when we saw them, oh, you got to store up months, store up wheat, 20%. We see the Most High say, okay, on the 6th year, I'm going to give y'all grain for what? For 3 years. I'm going to give you 3 years worth of grain. Okay. So now it says, blow the trumpet, blow on the new moon the trumpet. Then it says, on the covering to the day of our solemn feast, the day of our Kagnawa, not Kagyanawa. It's a singular word. So the more I believe this and read this, the more I'm seeing that it is very possible from the grammatical context that it's referring to a single event, but giving a very descriptive, conversation, or giving very descriptive words about one event. All right, because of what's happening with Joseph right now. Okay. So what we see happening with Joseph now, when we go into the next verse, which everybody wants to go to verse 3, but nobody understands verse 4. Ask anybody what verse 4 means and how it applies to verse 3. They won't be able to tell you, because they don't read and understand the law, because they don't keep it. Right? So it says what? He says right here, it says Kaya, not Kaya, but Kaya. Kaya Kak, right? Kaya Kak La Yasha'Allah. This was a statute to Israel, to Yasha'Allah. Hazah, this. Mashapat, this was a judgment. See what it says here? It says law. But Mashapat means what? Shapat means what? Judge. Mashapat means what? Means judgment. This was a judgment, right? Meaning this was a response to an event that happened that the Most High made a ruling and a decision upon based on the preceding events, right? Law is saying do this. The judgment is, okay, this must be done because you did this, all right? The statute, now by this we can see that from the statute we can create a law or a judgment based on events. So this is a judgment, okay? La alahaya ya'ikwa. This is the judgment of the power of Jacob. right? Everybody see that, understand that, right? Now, this is what he said. He says, Idwath ba Yawasa. This was a testimony in Joseph. He said, Idwath in Joseph. It's a testimony in Joseph. Shamawar. This was established. Shamawar. It was established. That means bring the established on there. It was established. It was placed. So it was placed. It was established. They say ordained, but what does ordained mean? See, what does it mean? Subjective word, right? So place and put. This is not subjective. All right. So it said this was placed or put. Look what he said. He says ba taza'atwa in his going out. Right when he went out, aisle or through Adatazah Matazadium, through the land of Egypt. You see that? When he went out and through the land of Egypt. Okay. Then it says Shapak La'a Yada'ithya Ashaman. All right. With the this says I understood. I'm sorry. They say he understood now, but it doesn't say that. It says he went through the land of Egypt, a tongue or a lip. A lip know he understood, I hear or I heard. Okay. So that's different. So we can dive into that another time. But what we do understand thoroughly is that the Most High says that this was Shama ba Taza'atwa. This was ordained when he went out over the land of Egypt, which event Adayasha'an just read. So now we're seeing that the context of the new moon scripture that we read in the book of Psalms chapter 81, verses 3 through 5, has to be correlated back to Egypt with Joseph. And when we correlate it back to Egypt with Joseph, let's read the I'm gonna read the English portion of it, but the Hebrew, when they translate this Hebrew into English, they don't always translate it the proper way. That's just a fact of life. The English translation of the Hebrew is not perfect. It's very accurate, but it's not perfect. It's not perfect. All right. So Psalm, and now if you got an English mindset, all of your breakdowns are gonna come from the Strongs and from the Blue Letter Bible. If you Webster's even. If you got a Hebrew mindset, no, well, let's go right to the verse and let's understand what these words mean. But a lot of brothers, because they don't want to walk in the commandments of Yahweh, they don't want to go and do all of that. They want to just stick to, well, it says this in this verse, and what about the Hebrew? Maybe the English is wrong. Let's look at the Hebrew. So this is Psalms 81, verses 3 through 5. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. This was a statute for Israel and a law of the God of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony when he went out through the land of Egypt. All right, what was that verse which say he went through the land of Egypt? Verse 46. Verse 46, it says so it's going to say he went from the Panya Para'ai. It says La Panya Para'ai. This says Malak Matazadium Wa Yataza'a Yawasab Malapanya Para'ai Wa Ya Ibar Bakal I went to all of Egypt. Wa Ibar Bakal Aratiza Matazadium. So it says he went out from the land, and there's another one. Where's the other part of it? Joseph went over the land. He's a priest of On or Awan, Um, this is and this is verse 40. Let's think of 45. Wayakwada para I sham yawasap. Oh, here it is right here. Para I sham yawasap. Zapanath pa'ainak. All right. Wayathath lawa ath asanath bath pawatia. Okay. Para'ai. Kahan an la asha wayatza'a yawasab ayel aratza matizayim. Let's say when we see here, it says ba taza'atia ayel aratza matizayim. It's the same phrase. The same exact phrase. So we know it's talking about pretty much the same thing because they're using the same word here. It says right here, it says wa yataza'a, and he went, and this one says ba taza'atwa, which means he went out. All right, and in his going out is what it says, in his going out, and then it says yawasap, and this tells us we're talking about yawasap. And this says ayel, and this says what? In English, in Hebrew, ayel. What's the next word? My word is aratza in Genesis. Genesis chapter 41, verse 45. Aratza. What's your last word? Mine is matazarian. So this says Joseph went out through the land of Egypt in Psalms 81, in Psalms 81, in the Hebrew right there. Check that out. In Psalms 81 in the Hebrew, okay, we see that right there. And in the book of Genesis, chapter 43, chapter 41, verse 45, it says the exact same thing. It says the same thing. It gives you the same idea, the same concept, right? Same verbs, same adjectives, same nouns. Well, what's the adjective? The adjective is what? The preposition is ayel, over, onto. All right. Okay, so that's what it says. What's the noun? We have two nouns, which is yawasap. Yawasap is in both phrases. Matazayim is in both phrases. All right. Now we have a verb. The action. What's the action? Tza'a or taza'a, yataza'a, which means go out. Now here it says in Genesis, it says wayataza'a, and he went out. But in Psalms, it says ba taza'at ya, which means in his going out. So Psalms 81, verse 5. I'm reading Psalms 81, verse 5. Now, when we're talking and when we're teaching, you have to go into the Hebrew because the law is written in Hebrew. You can't understand the law from just looking at it in English. You won't understand the law from just looking at it in English. You have to go into the Hebrew sometime. You have to study it actually in the Hebrew sometime, not every time. But you got to go through and look at every one to see what it says, to make sure that you're getting the right understanding that the translators provided in their translation. Because if not, you're not really studying. You're just going off what somebody else told you. And even when it comes into the book is graphic harmony there. Even when you study it in the Hebrew, you still want to look at different translations from the original temple. Remember, all this is coming from the temple scrolls. All right. The Samaritan originally was translated from the temple scrolls. All right. the Samaritan text, about 700 something BC, was translated from the Temple Scrolls. All right. The Masoretic text was not translated from the Temple Scrolls. The Septuagint was translated based on the Temple Scrolls. 250 BC. Okay. White garment. I need the book that I took to the brother's house that has the two different forms of the Hebrew. If it's not down there, it might be outside. So you have to look at different places, man. That's the only point that I'm making. All right. So is it clear now? Let me ask everybody here. Let me come over here for a minute. Why interrupt? We'll be right back after this commercial break. Is there anybody here that cannot see that the events that we're reading about happening to Joseph right now in the book of Genesis? You look in the vehicle? In the book of Genesis, chapter 41, verse 45, about Joseph going out through the land of Egypt. Is there anyone here that cannot see how that relates back to Psalms chapter 81, verse 5? Because you're looking in the Hebrew and you look at the Hebrew and the English, right? Can you see that it relates, or you see that it doesn't relate? That it does, or no, it does not? Okay, so we can see it relate because we're looking at the Hebrew text. And a lot of y'all, you may want to get this app too. Now the app, once again, the Hebrew translators are not perfect. They are not the Most High. So you have to look at this from, the Hebrew and understand what that word means first. Once we understand what the word means, it's almost like we going into George Washington. Okay, let me remind me about the almanac. Once you understand what the word means, then you can base your translation in your mind on what that word means. Okay. So we just showed you. So now Psalms 81 and 3 and Psalms 81, 4 and 5 are all talking about referencing us to the foundation of one event. What was that one event? It tells us right there when Joseph went out through the land of Egypt. The Most High says, blow the trumpet. So the more I understand the Hebrew and the more I really think about this from a Hebrew perspective, and there's other commentators in Hebrew culture that may have said the same thing, but the more I kind of want to feel like in the scriptural Hebrew perspective, in my Hebrew spirit, that this is referring us to one date, one event that will be the memorial of the blowing of trumpet. Why? Because it points to one date, one event that happened with Joseph. And it tells us that he went out of the land of Egypt on this day. He didn't go out of the land of Egypt on Passover and the Sabbath and the new moon and the memorial of blowing the trumpets and the Feast of Tabernacles and the Feast of Weeks. He didn't go out. He went on one day. It was one day. It was one day. Now, would the Most High reveal to them, okay, all you Hebrew people out here, 6 and 7, what happens after the seventh? What happens after the 7th month? And I think you should know this. What happens after the 7th month in terms of the soil in Israel, in terms of the soil and the ground in Israel? First of all, what major event do we have on the 7th month? Okay, the Feast of Tabernacles is also called what? What's another word for the Feast of Tabernacles? Not Feast of Boots, not nothing like that. Feast of something else that deals with agriculture. Come on, tell me. Tell me. Feast of Ingathering. Look in the law. When you look in the law, yeah, this is a long Sabbath session today, ain't it? Y'all thought we was gonna just get in and get out. And when you go into Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 16. Now we're still reading the law, we're still reading about Joseph. We're just taking a slight detour. When you go into Deuteronomy chapter or Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 16, and you read verse 16. It says 3 times shall all males appear before Yahweh. The feast of unleavened bread, the feast of weeks, and the feast of tabernacles. Okay, so that last one is going to be the last one is going to be the feast of tabernacle, right? The one. So the last one's going to be the feast of tabernacle. So now what I want to give you and show you is that the feast of tabernacles. All right, the Feast of Tabernacles is also called, somebody pull that scripture for me real quick, was called the Feast of Ingathering. I believe it might be in Exodus chapter 34, if I'm not mistaken. Wait, I think maybe in 34. All right, let's check. Now, just because you're walking in the Torah don't mean the Most High is suddenly going to give you a superhuman memory. All right. Let's look at 34. 34. I seen all males celebrate the Passover. 6 days work be done. Okay. Exodus 34:22. Hallelujah. Which, yeah, we go to Leviticus 23. And we go to Leviticus 23 to see all of the holidays listed together, right? But these holidays we see in Deuteronomy in Exodus chapter 34 were written before Leviticus 23. But they're right here. So when you're talking about the holidays, Leviticus chapter 23 is not the only in the first place they appear at. We first have them appearing into the book of Exodus chapter 34. Read verse 22. And ye shall observe the Feast of Weeks, even of the first fruits of wheat harvest, grain harvest, and the Feast of Ingathering at the turn of the year. So the Feast of Ingathering, which is at the turn of the year, or the agricultural year. What's the turn of the year mean? The turn of the year means it's going from being, because everybody knows, anybody that's done farming knows that you must harvest your crops before what? Not a date, but an event that happens with the earth. Before what? First, or you must harvest your crops before that frost comes in. All right. You must harvest your crops before the frost hits the earth. So what do you think the turning of the year is talking about right here? Let me see what it says in the Hebrew for the turning of the year. 34 and 34:16. Let's look at Exodus 34:16. I'm sorry, 34:22, and let's see what it says. It says ha asiyap. It says ta paupath ashana. Paupath. Ta paupath. I'm not familiar with that word. Let's see what that word is. All right. Nobody knows everything. All right. Well, we at 34. What's that? 34:22, right? Go to Exodus 34:22. Let's look at verse 22. 34:22. It kind of reminds me, when you look at that word in the Hebrew, when I first looked at it, it reminded me of the Torah portion which is what's the Torah portion? Mikeitz or Makwatz, right? So this says Dakwat, which is, it says the circuit. Let me see what you got. Okay. Tha is a mark. Kwa is something going through something. Y is a planted. Pa is an opening. Okay. So I can see a movement. Okay. Movement. And it's used time come circuit. Okay. So what happens then? What events do we have happening at the end of the agricultural year? What happens? It gets cold. So it's the end of the warming part of the warm year, and it begins the cold time, the cold circuit. So it's a turn. So even if you're looking at a circle, that would still be at the midway point of the circle. All right, that would still be at the midway point of the circle. Okay, now we know that we're not basing this only on if it was only for the sun, you go like it tells us deceitfully in the book of Enoch. If it was only based on the sun and the equinox and the solstice, we would need to have an almanac because we could do everything after the spring equinox. That's when we can start planting, right? But we know that some years we can't plant after the spring equinox. Why? Because we still have frost. We still have frost and cold in the ground and on the earth. And if you put them seedlings out there and it's cold outside, what's going to happen to that little plant you put out there in the soil, Zayatan, and it's cold outside? What's going to happen to that little plant? It's not going to grow. So if it doesn't grow, it's going to do what? It's going to die. It's going to die. So if you don't plant, if you don't put it in the ground the right way, the right time, all your harvest is going to die. So you can't tell me that we're using a system from the book of Enoch that's based on the spring equinox, the summer solstice, the fall equinox, and the winter solstice, because it doesn't work in the real world. Maybe from a white boy sitting back trying to write a book to convince people of to do something his way, it may work. But in the real world, it don't daggone work. When you're looking at the constellations, so anytime we see Shana, what do the Most High tells us once again in Genesis to refer to when we're dealing with the Shana? Don't he say to look at the constellations in Genesis 1:14, the firmament in the heaven? Or do he say wait until the earth is at a 0-degree tilt on its axis? He don't say that. So this year end that we have right here, and now I'm not teaching science. I'm teaching the Bible. So this year end right here is talking about what? The Feast of Ingathering. So now, what do they do after the Feast of Ingathering? If you've done any archaeological search, and if you do it and you look for the Gezer calendar, not like an old Gezer, but the Gezer, Gezer calendar that they found in the place called Gezer, Israel. A student, his name was I think his name was Abaya or Ayab. I forget his name, the name of the student, but it was a student, and he wrote, "Oh, these are the years that we do this." And he said that after we do the harvest, and even you go into the scripture that shows us, the scripture says that the fool will not plow by reason of the cold. Now, why is the fool gonna be outside plowing in the cold anyway? Why is that? Because after the harvest season, we would go back and do what? Any farmer knows this, but if you ain't thinking from a Hebrew Eastern agricultural viewpoint, you won't understand this. If all you're thinking about is from, I'm gonna prove this person wrong, this man got it right because he showed me from the book of Enoch, you're not gonna get it. But because I walk in through the grace and power and mercy of the Most High to the best of my ability on a daily basis, improving my obedience to laws, commandments, and statutes, not repetitively and consistently doing things that I know are against the commandments and laws of the Most High. Once we get to that point, now we'll understand the Torah a lot better. Now we can walk in it. Okay, but the point that I was making was that once you finish doing your harvest, what do you got? If you even seen your grandmother outside, your uncles, once they finish doing that harvest, what do they do with the land? You turn it over. You prepare the soil. So the fool will not go out to plow the land by reason of the cold. Meaning what? The harvest is over. The year has turned around. Now you got the circuit is complete. You're beginning a new phase in that circuit, which is now you got to turn the dirt over, which happens in the 8th and the 9th month of the Hebrew calendar. Or it happens in the month after the Feast of Ingathering. Happens a month after, and the second month after the Feast of Ingathering, which is going to be the 8th and 9th month, 2 months after. The month after the Feast of Ingathering and the month after that, we're going to start the harvest. We're going to start to turn the soil over. All right. So now, when do you think the Most High popped this plan in Joseph and Pharaoh's brain? At the beginning of the year to start to do your planting and your harvesting and getting your seeds ready? When you can't do it no more because you just lost time? Or at the end of the agricultural year, before it's time to plant, when it's time to prepare your soil? When do you think that your intelligent, all-knowing God is going to have people to start to carry out or to be aware of his plan of how he wants them to do their crops? When it's time to prepare the soil, or when it's time to plant inside the ground? This is your God. When it's time to prepare the soil. That's why the Most High told you, you got to go into the field and prepare. Even when you're building a house, you got to prepare, and then you got to what? Then you got to plant. You got to build. So you got to prepare the soil first. Okay? You got to prepare the soil first. That's why the Israelite, the fool would not plow by reason of the cold. All right. What does that scripture tell us? Pull that up for me. So if you look up fool and plow, you'll see the scripture in Proverbs. So it says the fool will not plow, which is a whole nother lesson that you got to use wisdom in the books of wisdom to sustain your doctrines also. The fool will not plow by reason of the cold, which means what? We would go out and prepare our season when it was cold. As it was getting cold, not in the middle of winter. See, winter to us is a rainy season and a cold season. And after that, the last harvest, now we begin, to get rain. But before the rain start coming down real bad, it starts to get cold, and then that's when we prepare the soils over. You can understand and see all of this by reading the Bible. I'm just pulling out one verse. All right, let me see that. Can you pass that to me, please? The water. All right, so let's go to anybody got nobody's got a Bible with the New Testament right now. Let's go into Proverbs. The thing is, it doesn't say fool. It says Proverbs 20:4. It says, "The sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold." So this is an admonishment saying, if you don't want to get out there and work to turn that dirt over, and when it's cold, that means you're a fool. I mean, that means you're a sluggard, a lazy person. A lazy person. And anybody knows me know that I love to get out there with that pick and turn over that soil, man. All right. So the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. So the sluggard says, now this word is translated as winter as autumn. Then it goes into being translated as cold also. But we know the Most High has told us that it happens after after the circuit of the year has been completed. After a certain circuit has been reached and completed, then he says other things happen. Okay, so before that, what's actually happening is the harvesting and the feast of ingathering. So now, when Joseph went out, I'm inclined, based on my understanding of the Torah, to say that this event that we're reading about in Genesis chapter 41, verse what was it, 22? Chapter 41, verse chapter 41, verse 46, the water is happening on the first day of the seventh month, because it tells us something similar to that in the book of Psalms, chapter 81, verse 3 through 5. But if we don't really go into, and once again, that this event is happening on the new moon, on the first day of the new moon. It's happening on the first day of the new moon, the new month. I mean, so it's like, if you can show me something in the Bible that, and how do we know it's and this new month that they're observing? All right, let me tone it down some. And this new moon that they're observing is in question now. People want to know whether it's the crescent moon or whether it's the white moon. Well, if we have the Most High ordaining this as something that is set up in Egypt, when Joseph is in Egypt, we simply have to look and see, when did the Egyptians observe the new moon? The Most High ordained it in Egypt at this time for a reason, for a purpose. So it's not up to us to question how and why. It's up to us to do. And once you do what he said to do, the way he said to do it, whether you understand it or not, then he gives you the understanding why, because you're keeping it and you're walking in it. So from the oldest all the way down to the youngest that can comprehend, number one, you can see the reality of the scripture in terms of plantings and things like that. And number two, you can relate what's happening in the book of Genesis chapter 41, verse 46, back to Psalms chapter 81, verses 3 through 5. Now, to increase that understanding, you have to what? You have to halak. What's your halakah? What's your walk? What's your execution of the commandments and the laws and the statutes? And then once you have the halakha on that, now you can walk into levels of wisdom through your actions being lined up with the Most High. You see that? Through your action being lined up with the Most High. All right, so now we're going to step off from that and now call the reader back up. Yeah, we might have to kind of stretch them out and might have to kind of open up. Yeah, bring it up a little bit.
Genesis chapter 41, verse 48. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities. The food of the field which was round about every city laid he up in the same. And Joseph laid up corn as the sand of the sea, very much, until they left off numbering, for it was without number. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the year of famine came, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bore unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh.
So Manasseh, go ahead.
For Elohim hath made me forget all my toil and all my father's house.
So don't forget that we have to look to Joseph when we're dealing with the year and we're dealing with the time and we're dealing with the month. Because his dream, and the Most High is showing you through wisdom that there's a secret of time that we can only learn when we understand Joseph. How do we know that? How do we know that? How do we know that? How do we know? What's the correlation that Joseph has with time? Joseph's first dream, Joseph's second dream, his first dream was about what? Wheat and harvesting grain in bundles and shears, and his brothers were bound down to him in the form of grain sheaves in the field, right? Which happened in the year of harvest, unless they did like an early, nothing. And if it was like an early harvest that they were doing. But then after that, what was Joseph's second dream about? The sun, the moon, and the stars. Now, we're in the Bible. In what chapter? In what chapter do we see? Because before grain becomes grain, it's first what? What does it start out as? What do all things start out as when they grow? When they grow, when they break that soil, what are they now? Little plants. Little plants. And a lot of times, little plants just look like little blades of what? Grass. So the grain that Joseph sees in his dream started out as a plant and as a seed. As a seed, then a plant, then a little seedling or whatever, then it grew into the big stalks of grain. And then those stalks of grain, they let them kind of dry out in the field. After a while, they get kind of brownish and dryish, and they harvest them. Okay? Now, what chapter in the Bible do we see all these components? Yahweh, which means what? He is added. Well, we see the Most High adding. We see the Most High adding, right? So what chapter in the Bible do we see the Most High adding? We see grass or grain. We see stars. We see moon. And we see a sun. What chapter in the Bible do we see all of that? I'm not going to answer this one. Somebody here got to answer that one. I'm not going to answer that one. And when you answer, you need to answer with confidence or don't answer at all. I don't want, Psalms 34, Revelation 22. I want to hear, you know what? It's in it. I'm pretty sure that I've seen the Most High adding. Yahweh means he is added on. I've seen him adding or counting. I've seen him counting. I've seen grass or grains. I've seen the stars. I've seen the sun. And I've seen the moon in this chapter of the Bible. Who can tell me? Genesis chapter 1. Thank you. So that's how we know that Joseph is telling us everything about Joseph leads us to what? To Genesis chapter 1 in time. And when we first began our study of the Torah about Joseph in Mikeitz, I said that Joseph is a shadow of what? Joseph is a shadow of wisdom. So it's only through wisdom that we can understand how Joseph is symbolic, and his events and his dreams are symbolic of wisdom, showing us some of the secrets of time. And if you don't walk in wisdom, if you don't walk in the Torah, then you would not see, you would not agree, you would not comprehend. You may comprehend, but you will not understand. So, the law in Exodus chapter 34, we went into the Feast of Engad when the Most High said that the circuit of the year is complete. So now we have to do what? We have to, come back and be what? Make sure that we get born again. Circuit is complete, starts back over. But when it starts back over, it starts back new. So the son's name was Manashah, which means made to forget. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 52. And the name of the second called Heman Ephraim, for Elohim hath made me fruitful in the land of my affliction.
Ephraim meaning I am fruitful. Aparyam. I am fruitful. Aparyam means aparyam. I am fruitful. Aparyam. Which shows us also with the time and with the calendar and with the years that sometimes we're going to have a fruitful month, meaning an extra cycle of the moon is going to happen in one of the constellations. And once that happens, instead of having 12 months, we end up with 13 months. A lot of times we end up with 13 months. All right, go ahead. Verse 50, hallelujah. Okay. So it's my turn already. All right, Parashah, Ban Zayatan, Oliver, Ban Gad, Ban Yasharallah,
Amadwa, Barak,
Yabaraka Kam, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushua.
Yabarak, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushua.
All right, okay. All right. Hallelujah. All right, so now this is coming from the book of Genesis, chapter 41, verse 53, all the way to 42, verse 18. All right, Ariasha, I need some adjustments over here on the tilting. The whole pantalla. Atrás. Así. Poco más. Hasta el nombre arriba. Aquí lo arriba. Okay. Un poco más. Yeah. Okay, I see. Okay, so Genesis chapter 42, verse, I'm at 42. Should it 41? 41, verse 53 to 42, 18. So I'll read verse 53, 54, 55 in the Hebrew. Okay. So Genesis chapter 41, right? Verse 53, 54, and 55, right? Okay, so it says wa the kaliyana shabai shanya hashabai ashira haya matazariam wa the kaliyana shabai shanya ha ra'aib labawa ka ashira amar yawsab wa Yahaya Ra'aib Bakal Ha Aratzawath Wabakal Aratza Matazariam Haya Lakam. Haya Lakam. Wataraib Kal Aratza Matazariam Wayatazaik Ha'aim Al Para'ai La Lakam Waya Amar Para'ai Lakal Matazariam Lakwa Al Yawasap Wa Ya Amar Lakam Tha Aishwa. All right. So chapter 43, chapter 41, verse 53 to 42, 18. 42, 18. Okay. It says, in the 7 years of plenty, and the 7 years of plenty that was in the land of Egypt came to an end. And came to an end. Okay, and when all the verse 54, and the 7 years of famine came to an end, according as Joseph had said. Every 53. And the 7 years of famine came to an end, according as Joseph Salakli. And the 7 years of famine began to come, according as Joseph had said. And there was famine in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph, Yawasap, what he saith unto you, do. And the famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians. And the famine was sore in the land of Egypt. And all the countries came unto Egypt to Joseph to buy corn, because the famine was sore in all the earth. Kalashad the body Yahweh, not Ishawa, not Shemai. All that Yahweh has said, what we doing here. Now Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, and Jacob said unto his sons, Why do you look one upon another? And they said, Behold, and he said, Behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not buy. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn from Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob sent not with him his brethren, for he said, Lest peradventure harm befall him. And the sons of Yasharallah and the Banya Yasharallah came to buy among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan, and Yawasap was the governor over the land. And it was that sold to all the people. Hello, Joseph. Salakli. He it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down to him with their faces to the earth, just like his dream. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spoke roughly unto them. And he said unto them, Whence come ye? And they said, From the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them, Ye are spies to come to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said unto him, Nay, my lord, but to buy food are thy servants come. We are all one man's sons. We are upright men. Thy servants are no spies. And he said unto them, Nay, but to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said, We thy servants are 12 brethren, the son of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not. And Yahweh said unto them, That is it that I have spoke unto you, saying, Ye are spies. Hereby ye shall be proved. As Pharaoh liveth, ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come thither. Send one of you, and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be bound, that your words may be proved, whether there be truth in you or else. As Pharaoh liveth, surely ye are spies. And he put them all together in ward 3 days. And Joseph said unto them the third day, This do and live, for I fear Allahim. And so Joseph's going to tell them what they need to do to live. Now, it's very interesting that we went over that word kasa'ah, that means throne. Now, Joseph comes to basically say that you all have come to try to see the nakedness of the land. Okay, so that throne, that covering, was to shield everybody, people, from harm. It wasn't to expose everything. So when we see that Joseph sits on the throne, which is a covering in the Hebrew, okay, and then Pharaoh sits on the throne and Joseph is right after him. And then we see Joseph saying that you all are spies and you come to see the nakedness of the land, meaning what? You come to see the nakedness of the land that's exposed because I'm not doing my job and protecting my people with the throne that represents me covering my people from protection and from nakedness. Everybody understand that? So the contrast, we see that Joseph is not saying exposure is like nakedness, but the covering or the throne is like being shielded and protected, like darkness, not like light. So, if we want to use the word plump, we can say it means plump, but plump in the sense of what? Plump in the sense of big and covering whatever's behind me. All right, like compared to this lettering right here, I'm plump. All right, I am kasa'ah. I'm covering it. I'm kasa'ah now. I'm covering. I'm the kasa'ah. I'm the throne. I'm the covering. All right, this chart back here, right? This chart. Okay, now I'm kasa'ah. I'm covering the nakedness of this land, of this chart. I'm sitting on the throne. I'm covering the nakedness. But what you come to see, Joseph is saying to his brothers, you all came to try to see the nakedness of the land. The things that we don't have uncovered that could be embarrassing and painful and hurt us, to see where you can slip in there. To see the nakedness is also a euphemism saying you came to screw us. You came to try to screw us over. Because you don't expose the nakedness of a woman, right? To play checkers and ping pong with her. A man exposes the nakedness of the woman to lay with her. If you don't believe me, read the book of Leviticus chapter 18. Nakedness is always used as a euphemism for sex. So Joseph is basically saying, y'all came to try to screw us over. But what covers that nakedness is the throne, the kasa'ah. Now the nakedness is covered from the chart. Now you can't. Joseph is saying, you come to try to disrespect and disregard me and look on the nakedness when the throne of Egypt is covering the nakedness. But you come to try to expose that nakedness, all right, and try to see that the nakedness is what you're going to try to destroy, to make us weak and to take from us and to steal from us, but you don't know how to get in. So you came into Egypt to spy it out. So here we also see, once again, when we read the law, we see the wisdom of the law. That nakedness is the opposite of the throne, because Joseph and Pharaoh control the throne. And Joseph is accusing his brothers right now of what? He's accusing his brothers of trying to expose the throne. He says nakedness. Now let's see what this word says in the Ibardia. He said unto them, verse 12, it says, Waya amar alham la'ab kaya irwath. And that means nakedness. When we go into the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, chapter 24, and it says, if a man wants to cover his wife because of some nakedness he sees in her, that word there is irwath or irwath. When we go into the book of Leviticus, chapter 18, if you can turn there real quick, you can go to Leviticus 18 in that book. If you got your electronic Hebrew Bibles in there, go to Leviticus chapter 18 and look at the Hebrew. Look through it, because nakedness is so in almost every verse. So you'll see, I just went to it real quick, verse 16, irwath. The beginning of 17, irwath. The beginning of verse 12, irwath. 13, irwath. 14, irwath. All right. You see how the Most High be working, man? You can't slip false doctrines through the Torah. Every answer for every doctrine is in the Torah. Now, why is Joseph sitting on the throne? What does the spy do? Does the spy look for the light? Or does the spy look for things that are hidden? Things that are in the darkness, things that are concealed? What does the spy do? Does the spy come in, bright lights, everything? Oh, that's the brightest light. Let me go there. The spy's okay. Let me check this land out. What's going on? Where their defenses at? How many soldiers do they have? How many chariots do they have? How many allies do they have of the surrounding people? You see? Who are their leaders of their military, of their guard? Where do these leaders of the military guard, where do they live? Is anybody loyal? Is anybody unhappy with their position in Egypt? Can I get somebody to work with me from the inside? These are the things of nakedness that Joseph is accusing his brother of looking for in Egypt, which is Irwath. Irwath means nakedness. And nakedness is the euphemism for sex. So Joseph is saying that you all have come here to screw me over. So it's Joseph's job to do what? What are you supposed to do with your nakedness? You're supposed to cover it and hide it. And the things that you cover and hide under your nakedness, are they shiny or are they dark? Under your clothes right now, is it dark or is it bright and shiny? It's dark. It's dark. But once you open it, it ain't dark no more. Once you, if you look up your sleeve, it's dark. You look down your stuff, it's dark. It ain't light. So Joseph is a covering of the things are supposed to be covered and hidden, so that people aren't able to come in and infiltrate and steal, rob, take, invade, and exploit the people that he's supposed to be protecting. That's what the throne represents. Because that's the word, kasa'ah, means a covering. People think like, oh, it's glorious. Well, if it was glorious, it wouldn't be called something to cover. It's not for him. It's not for him. The throne and the covering is not for him. It's for the people. And he's covering their nakedness. He's covering the nakedness of the land. Which means that when we see that, when we see, what verse do we see throne in? Who remembers? Once again, Leviticus 16 talks about the nakedness. I mean, Leviticus 18 talks about the nakedness. Where do we see the throne at? Anybody remember where we see the throne at? It said Joseph sat on the throne of Egypt, right? Everybody remember that? It was when you started reading Parashah, which means it's going to be between 39 and 52, right? It's going to be between 39 and 52. 39, according to the rule, signet. You wrote about riding in the second chariot yet? No, you didn't read that yet. I got to go back. You read that already? So I'm reading in chapter 52 now, right? Actually, I just moved to 53, didn't I? No, I didn't do that yet. I just moved to 52, so 41. With the throne. Come on, somebody help me find the throne. Joseph, when Pharaoh said, only in the throne of Egypt, he says, only in the throne will I be greater than you, in verse 40. Okay? Only in the throne will I be greater than you. Was great as Gadol. So he said, in verse 40, that going to your word, so my people be ruled. Yad, Ishak, Al Anya, said, Rak Hakasa, only Hakasa in the throne, Gadal, I'm greater. Makah. So he says, only Rak or Rakwa Hakasa, only in the throne. It says it right there. Only in the throne am I greater, which means the ultimate responsibility of the protection and the covering of the people comes from me. Light represents exposure and knowledge. But you don't expose and give all the knowledge of your people. So the throne of Egypt represents a covering for the people to protect the people. So Pharaoh is saying that ultimately, I'm still the sun god. I'm still Ra, right? I'm still the god of Egypt, and you still under me. I'm ultimately responsible for protecting you and for protecting the other people of the land of Egypt. So in Genesis chapter 41, and we look at verse 40. All right, look at verse 40. He says, Rakwa only, Hakasa, only the throne. All right, Gadal, I'm greater, Makah, from you. Only a throne am I greater from you. That's what he says. So now when we see the throne of Egypt, which means a covering, Pharaoh is great. Now, how can the throne mean bright or a plump, lit thing if Joseph is saying that you come to see the nakedness? Because if they came to see the nakedness, that means that Joseph is saying that the things that you're looking for are what? Are covered, right? So if the things are not naked, that means that they're covered and not exposed. And if they're covered and not exposed, what's the representation of that covering and that lack of exposure and that protection that people have? It's Pharaoh. And what's Pharaoh sitting on? He's sitting on the throne. And how do we say throne in Hebrew? Kasa'ah. Kasa'ah. Right? So, I mean, these are open and shut discussions. Now the context and the story of these words is what really gives us the deeper meaning. So Joseph just made a very beautiful spiritual contrast between the throne of Egypt and his job as part of the throne of Egypt and the nakedness. All right? The nakedness being exposed. The Idwath, or you can say Idwath too, but I prefer to say Idwath. So he makes it known, like, yo, you're not gonna I'm the covering. Not I'm the bright light to show you everything, which some people want to say Kasa'ah is the bright light. All right. But it can't be the bright light in the sense of the job that Joseph is performing. His job is the job of covering and shielding and protecting. Okay, now you might have, you got a bright shield. You may have bright shields and everything, but in the sense of a spy and Joseph in the throne. Okay. Anyway, so I'm in chapter my section is over. I read my whole section. Right? So he spake roughly to his brothers, accused them of being spies, and they said to see the Joseph accused him, saying that you've come to see the Idwath. That you might also see that translated as Idut. You might see it also translated as Idut, I believe. Okay. Okay, Idut. Idut or Idot. What you got that? Let's see what you got for that in your in that Hebrew English that has the transliteration for Genesis 42:12. All right, so that's my section. I'm finished reading 42, and I stopped at 42:18. So the next section is going to be 42:19 to 43:15, and I'll read 19, 20, and 21 in Hebrew. Okay, I'll read 19, 20, and 21 in Hebrew. There's Genesis 42, right? $19. Right?
Amar ban Parashah ban God ban Allah.
Amadwa, Barakwa.
Yabaraka Kami Hal Bashem Yavshai.
All right. Got a lot going on right now. what? Get what? All right, so let me read the first 3 verses. Verse 40, chapter 42, verse 19, 20, and 21. It says, Am An Kaniyam Atham Ak Yakam Achad Ya Asar Babayath Ma Shemarkam Wa Atham Lakwa Ha Habayaawa Shabar Habayaaya Shabar Ra'aib one Bat Yakam Wa'ath Ak Yakam Hakwatan Dabayaawa Aliyah Wa Ya Aman Wa Hadabar Yakam Wa La'a Damwath Wa Ya Aishwa Khan. Verse 20. Wa Ya Amar Ayash Al Akyawa Abal Ashamyam Anaknawa Ayel Akyanawa Ashera Ra'ayanawa Tazarath Napashwa Ba Hatakan Nawa Alyanawa Wala'a Shemai Nawa Ayel Khan Ba'ah Alyanawa Ha Tazarah Ha Za'ath. So Genesis chapter 42, verse 19 through 43:15. Okay, so 19 through 15. And after the 15, it tells you like 5, like section 5 is starting to read. Like here on 19, it tells you section 4 starting. That's 5, right? The 5 is starting right here. And over here shows you that section 6 is starting at the end of the verse that you have to stop at, okay? Yeah.
If ye be upright men, let one of your brethren be bound in your prison house, but go ye, carry corn for the famine of your houses, and bring your youngest brother unto me. So shall your words be verified, and you shall not die. And they did so, and they said one to another, We are verily guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the distress of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore therefore is this distress come upon us. And Reuben answered them, saying, Spoke I not unto you, saying, Did sin against the child, and ye would not hear? Therefore also, behold, his blood is required. And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for the interpreter was between them. And he turned himself about from them, and wept. And he returned to them, and spoke to them, and took Simeon from among them, and bound him before their eyes. Then Joseph commanded to fill their vessels with corn, and store every man's money into a sack, and to give them money into a sack, and to give them provision for the way. And thus it was done unto them, and they loaded their asses with corn, and departed thence. And as one of them opened the sack to give his ass provender in the lodging place, he espied his money, and behold, it was in the mouth of his sack. And he said unto his brethren, My money is restored, and lo, it is even in my sack. And their heart failed them, and said, and they turned trembling one to another, saying, What is this that Elohim hath done unto us? And they came unto Jacob their father, unto the land of Canaan, and told him all that had befallen them, saying, the Lord of the land, spoke roughly with us, and took us for spies of the country. And we said unto him, We are upright men, we are no spies. We are 12 brethren, sons of our father. One is not, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man, the Lord of the land, said unto us, Hereby shall I know that ye are upright men. Leave one of your brethren with me, and take corn for the famine of your houses, and go your way, and bring your youngest brother unto me. Then I shall know that ye are no spies, but that ye are upright men. So will I deliver you to your brother, and ye shall traffic in the land. And it came to pass, as they emptied their sacks, that behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when they and their father saw their bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said unto them, Me have ye bereaved of my children. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not. And ye will take Benjamin away. Upon me are all these things come. And Reuben spake unto his father, saying, Thou shalt slay my 2 sons, if I bring him not to thee. Deliver him into my hand, and I will bring my son back. I will bring him back to thee. And he said, My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he only is left. If harm befall him by the way which ye go, then you will bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. Shabath all I have said, we were doing here. And the famine was sore in the land, and it came to pass, when they had eaten up the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, that their father said unto them, Go again, buy us a little food. And Judah spoke unto him, saying, The man did earnestly forewarn us, saying, Ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. If ye will send our brother with us, we will go down and buy thee food. But if ye will not send him, we will not go down. Then the man said unto us, Ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. And Yashua said, Wherefore dealt ye so ill with me, as to tell the men whether ye had yet a brother? And they said, The man asked straightly concerning ourselves, and concerning our kindred, saying, Is your father yet alive? Have ye another brother? And we told him according to the tenor of these words. Could we anywise know that he would say, Bring your brother down? And Judah said unto Yeshua his father, Send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and thou, and also our little ones. I will be surety for him, of my hand shalt thou require him. If I bring him not unto thee, and set him before thee, then let me bear the blame forever. For except we had lingered, surely we had now returned a second time. And their father Yeshua said unto them, If it be so now, do this, take of the choice fruits of the land in your vessels, and carry down the man a present, a little balm, and a little honey, spices, and ladanum, nuts, and almonds, and take double money in your hand, and the money that was returned in the mouth of your sacks carry back in your hand. Peradventure it was an oversight. Take also your brother, and arise, go again unto the man, and Adonai Yahweh give you mercy before the man. that he may release you unto your brother, unto your older brother, and Benjamin. And as for me, if I be bereaved of my children, I am bereaved. And the men took the present, and they took double money in their hand, and Benjamin, and they rose up and went down to Egypt, and stood before Joseph. Verse 15.
Any no rush on it? What you have for us? Give us some of that deep understanding from it, man. Something. What you see and that we don't see. Or what you see that we need to see. Who's the one that said who's the one that said that the man straightly told us, you know, we're not gonna go back unless we got the boy. Is that you were talking?
That's what they said.
All right, well they lied, didn't they? Joseph didn't ask him about their father. Did Joseph say, who was your father? He said, you spies. He said, no, we ain't spies. We 12 brothers. And one of our brothers, they just dropped they started telling the whole family business. One brother is not, the other one is small. My father wears size 11 shoes. They started telling anybody just the whole business. Right? Now go ahead, you take it back over. Now you can call the next video. You got any commentary you want to give on what he read? Here you do when he steps down.
Parashah Parashah Parashah
Mudra, Rock,
Rav Kami Habashim Yasha.
Yeah, but how about Shimei? You gotta think about what he read. You say something, I'll just sit there quiet. I think what we're gonna do is, as y'all read the Torah throughout the week, everybody's gonna have to start writing like one-page essays about the Torah portion. This is ridiculous. We get to read the Torah, you've been reading it, or you have a chance to read it, and we get the chance to explain and talk about it, and you young people can't even express what you just read or what you just heard, particularly you males that are doing the reading. It's embarrassing, it's unacceptable, and it's disappointing. What's the point of getting up here reading every Shabath is now when somebody asks you to explain and understand and share what you read, you can't do it. You're like a person going to church to hear what the preacher is saying and then turn around and leave and can't say nothing about what he said, but you just did it because it was something to do. Now read your section. Hey, you read your section. Read your first 3 verses in Hebrews 16. The 16, 17, and 18, right? Chapter 43, verse 16, 17, and 18. Read that.
Waya Kwamwa Waya Radwa Matazarium Waya I Madwa La Panya.
You saw with verse 16?
Oh, this is the first 50.
Yeah, 43:16. This
Wait.
one we got that little cricket. And this one's funny too. Go ahead.
Wayara'a wa ya yawasap atham ath banya
Banyamyan.
waya amar la ashar al bayathwa haba'a ath ha'anash yam habayatha wama
Tabak.
watabak tabak wahakan kaya afya ya akalwa ha'anash yam bataza rayam waya aish
Batzaharyam.
batazaharyam waya aish ha'ayash ka'ashar ka'ashara amar ya wasap waya ba'a ha'ayash ath ha'anash yam bayatha waya wasap waya yar awa
Wayaya Adwa.
waya ya arwa ha'anash yam kaya hawaba awa bayath yawasap waya amarwa al debar hakasab hashab ba'amath kath yanwa bathakal anak noah an mawaba'ai mawaba'ayam lahathadwal I
Go ahead.
Al Alianawa Walahath
Wathaquakath.
Walhathakwath
No, go ahead. Do it, say it again.
Walhathan Pal Al Alianawa Walaquak Tha Athnawa La Ibada Yam Waath Kamar Yanwa
Yanawa.
And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, "Bring the men into the house, and kill the beasts, and prepare the meat, for the men shall dine with me at noon." And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house. And they said, because of the money that was returned into our sacks, at the first time are we brought in, that he may seek occasion against us, and fall upon us, and take us for bondmen and our asses. And they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and they spoke unto him at the door of the house, and said, O my lord, we came indeed down at the first time to buy food. And it came to pass, when we came to the lodging place, that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight, and we have brought it back in our hand. And other money have we brought down in our hand to buy food. We know not who put our money in our sacks. And he said, Peace be to you. Fear not, your Elohim and the Elohim of your father hath given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money. And he brought Simeon out unto them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house, and gave them water, and washed their feet. And they washed their feet. And he gave their asses provender. And they made ready the present against Joseph's coming at noon, for they heard that they should eat bread there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their house which was in their hand into the house, and bowed down to him to the earth. And he asked them of their welfare, and said, Is your father well? The old man of whom ye spoke, is he yet alive? And they said, Thy servant our father is well. He is yet alive. And they bowed their head and made obeisance. And he lifted up his eyes, and saw Benjamin his brother, his mother's son, and said, Is this your youngest brother of whom you spoke unto me? And he said, Elohim be gracious unto thee, my son. That was verse 29. That was verse 29.
Okay. So we can go ahead and do your explanation what you read.
The brother explained to Joseph's brother explained to him when Joseph brought them into his house that when they were about to leave, the money was in their sack still, and they didn't know who did it. And Joseph said that he was the one that had the money in their sacks. And then he lifted up his eyes and he saw. And he asked them about their father, and to see if Jacob was still alive. And they told him that he was still alive. And then he lifted up his eyes and he saw Benjamin, and he asked the brothers if that was their youngest brother they spoke about, and they said that it was, and Joseph blessed Benjamin.
That teaches.
And since the brothers, when they didn't know how they got the money returned to them, they were afraid. But when they were brought into Joseph's house, because they thought they would be made slaves, and that their donkey would be taken from them. And they went to
Teach about what the things would mean that you read. What are the things mean? What's the meaning behind all these things? The wisdom and the spiritual understanding behind what Joseph is doing, what his brothers are saying, and things like that.
when Joseph is doing these things to his brothers, he's trying to figure out how they would act if they changed during the years that he hadn't seen them. When he was trying to see like whether they would return with their brother, or if they wouldn't mention the money at all when they got it back. He was trying to see if they were honest. And then he was asking about his father and his brother. He was just trying to figure out how their family was still doing it. The brothers also brought a present to Joseph, so they'd be forgiven for the money that was still there with them that they used to pay for the bread, for the food. And they kept bound, so the brother were kept bound to Joseph, so his dream came to pass, so it was true.
Parashah ban Bayatan ban Gad ban Yasharaba.
Rock,
Yabak Kam Yahweh Bashem HaMashiach Yahushua. All right, so last area, chapter 43, verse 30 through 44, 17, right? 43, 30 to 40, 17. So I'm gonna read 40. I'm in Genesis chapter 43. I'm in Genesis chapter 43, verse 30 through Genesis chapter 44, verse 17. I'm going to read Genesis chapter 43, verses 30, 31, and 32 in Hebrew. It says, Wayamahar Yawasap Kaya Nakamarwa Nakam Yawa Al Akyawa Wayabakwash La Bakwath Wa Wayaba'a Hakadara Wa Yabad, Wa Yabad, Shama, Wa Yarakatza, Panyawa, Wa Yatza'a, Wa Yata Apak, Wa Ya Amar, Shaya Mawa Lakam, Wa Yashayam Wa Lawa, La Badwa, Wa Laham, La Badam, Wa La Matazariam, Ha Akaliyam, At Wa La Badam, Kaya La A Yawakalwan, Ha Matazariam, La Akala Af Ha Ibadiyam, Lakam, Kaya Tha Wa Aiba Hawa A La Matazariam. Okay, that's verses 30, 31, and 32. I want to say also that when it talks about Joseph, and it goes into he was starting to have compassion on his brothers. And we look in verse 30. He started to want to show his brothers compassion and mercy and started to cry. But he was trying to be hard for them, so he went and washed his face and then came back out. Okay. So yeah, Joseph, his heart was compassion toward his brother, but he still wanted to try to stretch everything out, make them suffer as long as he could psychologically without actually bringing any harm upon his brothers. Okay. So now chapter 43, verses 30, all the way to 44:17. Okay, it says, and Yahusap made haste, for his heart yearned toward his brothers, and he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and wept there. And he washed his face and came out. And he refrained himself and said, set on bread. And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians that did eat with him by themselves. Because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptians. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men marveled one with another, and portions were taken unto them from before him. But Benjamin's portion was 5 times so much as any of theirs, and they drank and were merry with them. Kala Shara Dabadi Yahweh, Na Eshawa, Na Shemai. All that Yahweh said, what we doing here. Right? So chapter 44, verses 1 through 17. It says, and he commanded the steward of his house, saying, fill the men's sacks with food as much as they can carry, and put every man's money in his mouth sack, and put the goblet, the silver, and put my goblet, my silver goblet, in the sack's mouth of the youngest, and his corn money. And he did according to the word of Yahusap that Yahusap had spoken. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their asses. And when they were gone out of the city and were yet far off, Yahusap said unto his steward, okay, up, follow after the men, and when thou dost overtake them, say unto them, wherefore have ye returned evil for good? Is not this it in which my Lord drinketh, and whereby he indeed divineth? Ye have done evil in so doing. And he overtook them, and he spoke unto them these words. And they said unto him, Wherefore speaketh my Lord such words as these? Far be it from thy servants that they should do such a thing. Behold, the money which we found in our sacks' mouths we brought back unto thee in the land of Canaan. How then should we steal out of my Lord's house silver or gold? With whomsoever of thy servants it be found, let him die. And we only, and we also will be my Lord's bondmen. And he said, now also let it be according unto thy words. He with whom it is found shall be my bondman, and ye shall be blameless. Then they hastened and took down every man his sack to the ground, and opened every man his sack. And he searched, beginning with the eldest, and leaving off at the youngest. And the goblet was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they rent their clothes and laded every man his ass and returned to the city. And Yawadah and his brethren came to Yawasab's house, and he was yet there. And they fell before him on the ground. And Yawasab said unto them, what deed is this ye have done? Know ye not that such a man as I indeed divine? And Yawadah said, what shall we say unto my Lord? What shall we speak? Or how shall we clear ourselves? Elohim has found out the iniquity of thy servants. Behold, we are my Lord's bondmen, but we and he also in whose hand, both we and he in whose hand the cup is found. We are my Lord's bondsmen, both we and he also in whom the cup is found. And he said, far be it from me that I should do so. The man in whose hand the goblet is found, he shall be my bondman. But as for you, get you up in peace unto your father. Okay. Into that chapter. All right, so that's the end of that chapter. So now Joseph has set the stage. He hid. So this shows us how now we have to learn from these things, right? This shows us how that when we are, doing something with people and we're doing business, we have to make sure that everything checks out the right way before we seal our bags and before we start to move on. Because just like what happened with Joseph, somebody could slip something into your bag, somebody could slip something into your drink, somebody could slip something into your food that could cause you problems. So always be careful, watch with your eyes, listen with your ears, more than you talk with your mouth, especially when you're in a foreign land, especially when you're in another person's country, when you're in another person's territory. Listen and watch more than you talk. Check your stuff. All this could have been prevented if everybody was just watching their stuff. Now, they already put the money back in the bags, right? So how are you going to do the same thing to me twice? This is the second time they did this to them because they weren't careful. They were putting trust in Joseph. They were putting trust in Egypt. They were putting trust in the Gentile system. And the Gentile system, how they were operating, is what got them in trouble the second time and put a cup inside of Benjamin's bag. Right? That's what should happen. They should have said, look, we have our grains. And they should have kept one of their brothers with the grains at all times, with their stuff. So we can look at these things and learn what can we do now. The Torah is a living book. We can learn how to do things better and how to do things, in a way that pleases Yahweh when we read from the book. Okay. So now when they get back, they also say, whoever you find the money or whoever you find the cup with, he can die. That's the same thing that who said that same thing? Jacob said the same thing. Whoever you find the idol with, you can kill that person. And who had it? his wife. Rachel had it. So they knew that story for sure. They might not have known it, but that's the same kind of spirit they fathers had. So that tells you what. Look at decisions. Ask your father about things that happen. Ask your mother about things that happen. Learn from things that they did and see how can you make a better decision if you're in that same situation. Because the better deal for Jacob, he trusted his wives, he trusted his family and his servants. His thing with his wives should have been like, look, you don't got no gods from your father's house or nothing that doesn't belong to you, do you? If you do, let me know now. Take it out so we can deal with it. All right? That's what he should have done. You see? Now, when it comes to the brothers right here, they should have checked their bags before they left. They should have made sure nobody had put nothing extra in their bags, especially because somebody put something extra in their bags the last time they were in Egypt. So now they find themselves in a very, very bad situation with their brother, with their father, all right, with Benjamin, and it's messed up now. It's messed up now. You see? It's messed up now. And Joseph is playing this little game with them, saying, you know, Joseph is using a proverb, but it's painful. What proverb is Joseph using? One of the ones he's using is answer a fool according to his folly, lest he should be wise in his own conceit. That means that sometimes you got to teach a person a lesson by doing the same thing to you and making them feel the same thing that they made you feel to teach them a lesson and to teach the future generations a lesson. Everybody follow me on that? And that's what Joseph is. Joseph is teaching us a lesson that what? Love your brothers. Be upright and honest with your father, with your brothers. That is not good for you to show favoritism to one son over the other. Because you can have situations where the children end up hating each other. Joseph was hated almost by his brothers, and they sought to murder this man. They wanted to murder their brother because of the love that the father had for them. And that's how Satan feels about you. He wants to murder you, all because Yahweh loves you. All because Yahweh loves Yahushua. So now Satan goes before the Father, accusing you of breaking laws of the Most High, because that's the standard, the laws of the Most High. But he has no case if you walking in obedience, if you being honest, if you being upright. You see that? If they were upright and righteous and fair with their father, okay, with their brother rather, and their father, telling their father the truth. Joseph ain't dead. We went to get him back from the hole. He was gone. But instead of being men and taking the punishment and taking the anger of their father, they crushed their father's spirit, made their father think that his favorite son was dead. Why? Because they didn't want to be in trouble for what they did against their father. So they rather lie to their father and make their father feel one of the most horrible pains that a parent could feel when they feel the emotions of your child being killed. That's what Jacob felt. So should they have rather felt Jacob's anger on themselves, or should they have let Jacob feel hopeless and depressed because he thought his son died? Of course, they shouldn't have made their father feel depressed and sad and horrible and crushed because he thinks his son has died. So we have two emotions. We have an emotion that's here, which is I'm guilty, I did something wrong, I don't know where this boy is. And then we have emotion that's here. We know where your son is. He's dead. He's gone. He's never coming back. So if Jacob is fussing at his sons, they can recover from that and get back higher. But when Jacob thinks his son is gone and dead and murdered and killed by a beast, He can't recover from that. That can't be undone. See, hurting somebody's feelings can be undone and changed. But once you take everything away from a person and murder and kill and rape, you can't take that back. That's an injury and that's a harm to a person that can't be undone. High levels of harm can't be undone. You see? So they should have said, you know what, Father? How about your Iquab? We put Joseph in the pit. It was mad because you always favoring him and you love him more than us. And we came back to get him from the pit, and he was gone. This is Reuben talking. I went to get him from the pit. He was gone. See, Joseph at least had the courage to tell his father that the children of Bilhah and the children of Zilpah were doing wrong. Right? He had the courage to tell that, which was Asher, Naphtali, Gad, and who else? Asher, Naphtali, Gad, and who else? And Dan, right? He told on them 4 tribes that they were doing wrong. They were doing wrong. See, he had courage. And that's why Joseph's father loved him. Because Joseph wasn't afraid. He was standing up to the wrong things that were done to him against his father's orders. Saying, my brothers are doing this wrong. Dan, Gad, all right, Asher, Naphtali, they're doing this. Please don't do that. They're doing this. They're doing this wrong. And he wasn't afraid. But Reuben could have said, you know what? My brothers did this wrong. So Joseph was more man than Reuben was. And that's why Joseph got the double blessing. Ephraim and Manasseh got two territories. Manasseh got 2 territories and Ephraim got territory, but together they had 3 territories coming from one man. Never was done to any other tribe. 1 tribe, 1 territory. Joseph was 1 tribe and had 3 different pieces of land. Because he was upright and righteous. So you can't put your own emotions above truth and righteousness and make somebody else feel extra bad because you want to tell a lie, because you don't want to be honest, because you don't want to take the responsibility and the punishment that's going to come to you for the wrong that you did. Everybody understand that? So be selfless. Joseph was selfless. He said, well, I'm here. I'm going to just help the people in the jail. And my father wants me to go on this long journey. Here I go. I'm going to go help the people that's in jail. I'm going to go talk to what do you need, Mr. Egyptian, enemy of Israel? What do you need? I'll help you. What's your dream? Oh, your dream is a good dream. Your dream is a bad dream. Oh, I'm a slave in Potiphar's house. Well, I just do my job here. You see that? Very, very controlled spirit. Not a lot of animosity and anger. And this is how we need to be reflecting. Yahweh Shalom, I'm here to save the people. I'll just die for their sins. You know they don't like me. They hate me. They spitting upon me. They grabbing my beard, pulling my hair out. I'll just take all of their sins upon me in the punishment. That's what happened to him. All of the sins that we did went on to the body of Yahweh. He felt the pain when he died on the cross at Calvary, the skull of Golgotha, when he died for our sins. Yahweh felt all of our pain. He felt all of our pain. And he paid the price for our sins. So now we don't have to pay the price for those sins. Yahweh paid the price, man. He was a slave. He was accused of rape. He was in jail. And now he's risen up. And now he's in a position to help save the world. And help save his family. The 12 tribes of Israel. So we have to look at this, understand this, and walk in this, and carry this lesson from the Torah, the Torah, with us on our daily lives. Make the sacrifice within yourself for somebody else and for other people greater, for the greater good of unity and brotherhood amongst the children of Israel. Now I need to fix that Christian right there. All right, so that's what we see from Joseph in this particular thing. Or the goblet. They took the goblet. Well, why didn't you check for the goblet before y'all left, man? How they gonna get you? How they gonna get you twice on the same trick? That's like the police put drugs in your car. Can we search your car? Oh yeah, search your car. Oh, we find drugs. That's not mine. What was in your car? The next time the police stop you, hey, can we search your car? No. I don't consent to a search of my vehicle. Period. Well, why don't you consent to a search? Am I under arrest? Or am I free to go? Well, you under arrest. Well, I don't consent to a search of my vehicle. And may I call a lawyer if I'm under arrest? I don't got nothing else to talk about. Well, you know, what's this in your car? You know, may I speak with a lawyer? I have no, may I speak with a lawyer? Well, what do you want a lawyer for? You didn't do nothing wrong. May I speak to, if I did not do nothing wrong, am I under arrest or am I being detained? If I'm not under arrest, am I free to go or am I being detained? Am I free to go or am I under arrest? All right. Don't get into a whole bunch of extra questions. You see that? So Joseph's brother should have learned the first time. Wait, we're going to put the goblet in their bag. Okay. Can you all check our bags before we leave? And they got another brother that should have been standing guard over the bags to make sure nothing happened to him. Which brother should have been standing guard? Who knows? Nope. Which brother? Simeon should have been standing guard. Maybe Benjamin too. But maybe Simeon, why? Because he just got out of jail. He's not going to do nothing to go right back in Egyptian jail, right? He's not going to just get out and be like, I'm gonna deal with the goblet. You see that? Because they think, oh, nobody's looking. Okay, put Joseph's cup in the bag. But now, since you know that people do things like this, since you know that your Hebrew people do stuff like this, you know you got to watch even your own Hebrew people, let alone the Gentiles. You got to watch your own people. Because this evil is being done against them is being done by their own Hebrew brother. So it's your own people sometimes that stab you in your back and try to get you in trouble. They might be your people according to the flesh, but they're not your people according to the spirit. That which is flesh, that which is spirit. All right. So now we're going to the Parashah. I'm sorry, the Haftarah. And the Haftarah in 1Kings chapter 3, verse 15 through 1Kings chapter 4, verse 1. Talking about Solomon's dream. And Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And he came to Jerusalem and stood before the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, and offered up burnt offerings, and offered peace offerings, and made a feast to all his servants. Then came there two women that were harlots. Right, two women that were harlots. It says, verse 16, As Tabana Shanayath Nashem Zanawath. So they were whores or harlots. Okay. So two women that were harlots that dealt with having sex with men that weren't their husbands. Maybe did it once, maybe did it twice, maybe did it for a month, who knows? Two women that were harlots came unto the king and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my lord, O Adanya, I and this woman dwell. O Adanya, I and this woman dwell in one house. And I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the third day after I was delivered that this woman was delivered also. And we were together. there was no stranger with us in the house, save the two in the house. And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me while thy handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I arose in the morning to give my child suck to breastfeed, behold, it was dead. But when I had looked well at it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, whom I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And the living is my son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spoke before the king. Then said the king, The one saith, This is my son that liveth. And the king said, Fetch me a sword, verse 24. Fetch me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in two, and give half to the one woman and half to the other woman. Then spoke the woman, whose the living child was, unto the king from her heart. For her heart yearned upon her son. And she said, Oh, Adanya. Okay. She said, Oh, Adanya, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other says, It shall be neither mine nor thine, divided. Then the king answered and said, Give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, and they saw that the wisdom of Yahweh was in him to do justice, or to do judgment, Mashapat. And King Solomon was king over all Yasharal. So here we see that the one woman didn't care about the child's life. She just said, kill the child. I don't care. It ain't going to belong to either of us. And the one woman said, okay, the child is not mine. Give it to her. Let her have it. Because she wanted the child to live. She would rather give her child to another woman than to watch that same child get killed by King Solomon. So King Solomon, using the wisdom of Yahweh, he knew that the woman that would be willing to preserve the child's life would be the woman that still had a spirit of life, a spirit of living, a spirit of righteousness, a spirit of compassion in her. Which woman would not have done such a thing with her dead child and taking another woman's child? So the character of the woman, the type of person she was revealed, was shown even in the face of death. And she was willing to live, to give up her only child to spare its life. And this is what Yahushua did for us. This is what Yahweh did for us. Yahweh gave up his only child so that we would live, so that we would have life, so that we would not perish. He sent his own son to die for us so that we would not be punished for the sins that we committed. Okay? So that's it on that. Now let me get a let's go to Romans chapter 10, verses 1 through 13. Okay? And we're going to be finished with this Torah portion. Romans 10, 1 through 13. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to Yahweh for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. For they, being ignorant of Yahweh's righteousness, and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of Yahweh. For Hamashiach is the end of the Torah, for righteousness to everyone that believeth. For Moses describeth the righteousness which is of the Torah, that the man which doeth those things shall live in them. But the righteousness which is of faith speaketh on this wise. Say not in thine heart, who shall ascend unto heaven? That is to bring Hamashiach down from above. Or who shall descend into the deep? That is, who shall bring up Hamashiach again from the dead? But what saith it? The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thy heart. That is the word of faith which we preach. That if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Adanya Yahawashai, and shalt believe in thine heart that Yahweh has raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. For the scripture saith, whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek. For the same Adanya, the same Lord is over all, is rich unto all that call upon him. For whosoever shall call upon the name of Yahweh shall be saved. So now we see that Israel is talking about Yahweh, but they do not do it according to the knowledge of the Torah and the knowledge of the proverbs of wisdom. They ignore and don't understand the righteousness of Yahweh, which can only come through obedience. And because of this, they seek to establish their own righteousness because they don't understand. They seek to establish their own righteousness. They seek to establish things their own ways. They seek their own breakdowns. When the breakdown is, what is that doctrine according to the Torah? At one point, the law was what we had to look to as our only source of how to get righteous before the Most High. But now when Yahushua came and paid the price for our sins, it's not the sacrifice of the animals now. It's the sacrifice of Hamashiach. That's how we're made righteous and clean before Yahweh. So having faith in Hamashiach, having faith in the words of Hamashiach, having faith in the salvation that he brings is what allows us to do what? To become forgiven and free from sin and from condemnation, from the negative evil judgment that would be against us in the eyes of Yahweh. So once we confess with our mouth, and we know that Yahushua is the Lord, Yahushua is the King of Kings, the Messiah, the Savior sent from Yahweh. Once we notice and we believe this, and we come to Joseph, we come to Joseph, we believe Joseph's words, we do what Joseph said, and all the world that was following and believing in Joseph had to come to Joseph, submit to him, bow down to him, and then they got their salvation. So all the world that believes on Yahushua, that bows down to Yahushua, that bows down to Israel, that recognize that we are the center and the focus and the throne and the rulership and the power as anointed and set up by Yahweh to be the king and the priest of the earth. Once they believe on that and believe on Yahushua HaMashiach, most importantly, then they will be saved and delivered. Why? Because everything we're doing and saying goes back to one man who is the father of us all, which is Adam. And the people also that come from Adam, the Most High says that they are like unto spit, and that Israel is his chosen vessel to bring justice, truth, righteousness, to bring order, to bring law, to bring discipline to the whole world under our rulership, which Yahushua is the king of all, and Israel will be the kings under Yahushua, ruling in territories over the whole world. But we can't do that with a world of disobedient, wicked, non-compliant, evil people. And those people can only be made pure and clean from their wickedness, their abominations, their evil, their disobedience, the same way as we had to get made clean, which is through believing in Yahushua. And then by being taught how to walk in and how to obey the laws, commandments, and statutes of Yahweh. We are not going to be a kingdom of kings ruling over kings. We're going to be a kingdom of kings ruling over the Gentiles. But for the Gentiles to live and to breathe and to exist, they also must call upon the name of Yahweh. They also must believe in Yahushua HaMashiach. They also must what? They also must follow the commandments that we are going to teach them. And when they do that, yes, they also shall be saved. They have to be saved in order to rule in order to be ruled by us. In order to live in a righteous empire, they got to know, believe, and follow and live by the righteous rules. You see? And this is what we often forget when we start to have the conversation about the Gentiles. They have to believe on Yahushua because they have to be saved, and they have to be saved to do service unto Yahweh, Yahushua, and the children of Israel. And when they do service to Yahweh, Yahushua, and the children of Israel, they have to be in obedience. They can't be full of sin and iniquity and transgression. Why? Because how many masters can they serve? One. They can't serve two masters. So they're going to have to love Yahweh, love righteousness, love obedience, and they're going to have to hate Hashatan, hate wickedness, hate disobedience to the Torah. They're going to have to hate it. And the only way that they can be made clean to hate sin, to serve us in righteousness, is also by calling upon the name of Yahweh, Bashem HaMashiach Yahushua. There's no other way for any nation to serve us joyfully, righteously, and faithfully, other than doing it by the power of Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua. We ain't gonna have to force nobody to do nothing. They're gonna change their hearts, or they're gonna get exterminated, then maybe get resurrected. You ain't learn your lesson? Exterminate them, resurrect them. All right? We're going to exterminate him, take his life like a bug. And then resurrect him. Because the old man has to die. Okay? So, but it starts with what? It starts with you calling upon the name of Yahweh. That's the first step. Not calling on the name of Israel. but call on the name of Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai. That's where it starts at. And then once that's done, now we can seek the righteousness of Yahweh and establish his righteousness. In the same book of Romans that we're reading from, Paul says that we establish the law. So when we establish the law, that's the only way that we can establish righteousness. And that's the only way that the people can submit unto the righteousness of Yahweh. So Yahweh Shai is the end of the law for righteousness, because he is the only righteousness that can be presented before Yahweh. Not even our works in the law. So it's the righteousness that we see through Yahweh Shai. So the law has not ended. Yahweh Shai is the end of the law for righteousness. Because at first the law was the only thing that we could use to make us righteous before Yahweh. But we broke that covenant. Remember, we broke that covenant. We broke that covenant. So Yahweh Shai had to become the mediator, the representative of a what? New covenant that was prophesied in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31. So he's going to make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. So now Yahweh Shai is the righteousness that we look to try to make us righteous and to bring us into what? That new covenant. Everybody see that? So right now we like in a transitional phase between the first covenant and the new covenant, with the Yahweh Shai giving us mercy. Why? Because we couldn't get righteousness under the first covenant because we broke it. So Yahweh Shai came to be the sacrifice, to atone for our sins, and to represent us and to show us how do we walk in righteousness through him and obeying the law. So the law for righteousness is what came through Moses. But grace and mercy and forgiveness and an example and a mediator of the law came through HaMashiach. An example of the law, a mediator for the law, came through Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. So Yahweh Shai now is for righteousness. That's how we become righteous before the Father. Not through the works of the law. Because the works of the law can be done by anybody. But without Yahweh Shai, who is the spirit and the letter and the word of the law, you can't fulfill the law. So that's why you got to go through him. You got to go to him. He's the only thing that can bring us into the new covenant, which is the new agreement, because we broke the old agreement. In Jeremiah chapter 31 gives you the whole picture. And it's repeated again in Hebrews chapter 8. So he is the mediator of a new covenant, where the Most High is going to write the law in our heart. But first, before he writes it in our heart, first we got to let Yahweh Shai into our heart, because he's the mediator of this new covenant. And through him, we get into the wilderness, we understand, we read, when we get taught the law, and then we go into Jerusalem in a new covenant. And then once we come into that new covenant, now punishments, rewards, consequences are going to be just as it's written. The sacrificial system is going to be set back up again. So this is the understanding of Romans chapter 10, verse 1 through 13. And as we discussing it, we pull in different pieces of the Bible from different places. But if you don't understand the Bible or study enough to know where it's coming from and what it's saying, look it up in the concordance. Look it up in the Hebrew. Read it and study it. And then you got a problem with what I'm saying. You come back at me after you've given a thorough, analysis of what it is that you're talking about and believing. Because everything that I'm talking about goes right back to Adam. And the promise of Yahushua was made to Abraham for all of the families of the earth. Adam was the father of all of the nations on the earth. And of course, we know that Yasha is his favorite nation, is the one that he set up to be the kings and the rulers forever. But the question is, what type of people are we going to be ruling over in our kingdom? Ignorant, disobedient, evil, wicked, perverted, nasty people, or upright, obedient, knowledgeable, compliant, and willing servants? Now, we know the Gentiles are going to have to pay for what they did. The Gentiles are going to have to pay for what they did as nations to the children of Israel. As nations. But those that have called upon the name of Yahweh and have now submitted themselves to you as the child of Israel, have submitted themselves to Yahushua as the King of Kings. You can't keep doing all of that. Maybe you should just stand up. Okay, with Yahushua, they're going to be the kings. We're going to be the kings over the earth. So the Gentile says, man, this is it. I believe, hey, what's the problem they got now? Okay? Because the same door, that's why I said at the end. At the end, it says that there's no difference between the Jew and the Greek. Okay? That word Greek there is, I believe that's the word ethnos, which means ethnicity. Which means what? Whoever is repentant and sorry for the sins of their fathers, as we got to confess, we see in the book of Leviticus chapter 26, verse 40 on down, we got to confess our sins and sins of our fathers as individuals. Now, once you do this as an individual, you take responsibility for the sins your fathers committed, and the Most High wipes your slate clean in the name of Yahushua. So you can do it because all of our sin came on us through who? Through Adam. So you can do it, but nobody else can. That's why the scripture says no different than the Jew and the Greek. Now you got different levels of repentance. And then you have different outcomes after repentance. Our outcome after repentance is rulership. A Gentile's outcome after repentance is being subject to our rulership, to our teaching, to our leadership, to our authority. Everybody got that? All right. So it's not a bubble. It's not Israel is in a bubble and everybody else is going to be destroyed and burnt and we're going to just be ruling ourselves with no subjects. And if we have subjects, they're going to be wicked. No, they can only be made righteous through Yahweh. That's what it just told us. Yahweh is the end of the law for righteousness to those that believe. So it goes beyond a Gentile or Israelite just keeping the law. Now you got to believe on Yahushua and walk in obedience to the law and to the commandments. All right? Some people will get this, some people won't. But he that has ears to hear, let him hear. All right? No, not you. I was talking to him. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. Everybody's not going to agree and see this and want to just make a 360. Some people don't even believe in the New Testament, so-called New Testament. Some people, their only job is to criticize and to destroy people that believe in the Messiah that died for our sins. And for those people, the Most High got a lake of fire waiting for you. But I guarantee you this, all these people talking against the Messiah that died for our sins and died for their sins, I guarantee you, their game is weak in obedience to the Torah. I guarantee you they look and act. Something about them is against the Torah. Their way of dressing, they want to be American. Like the so-called white man calls himself a Jew. He want to wear a yarmulke on his head and want to wear a short suit that comes to his loins and put strings on his pants and call himself a Hebrew. Looking like a regular modern white boy, you want to call yourself a Hebrew. That ain't Torah doctrine. That ain't Torah dress code. You see? So these people talking against the Messiah. These preachers, these Jewish rabbis, talking against the Torah and talking against the laws of Yahweh. The Most High got a lake of fire for people like that want to go to church on Sunday, that want to celebrate Christmas and Easter. All right, people that want to do a Havdalah, rubbing smoke over their face like they do, like all like different religions do. Especially Hindus do that. Light the flame and bring the flame and put it over your face. Hindus do that. Now you got Israelites saying you got to do that with the Havdalah. That's against Torah. That's a Torah. That's a Gentile practice, worshiping another god. But our people may try to do it, following after what they saw somebody else do, man. What's going on, Michael? What's going on, Jeff Cromedy? Gentiles will try to do this. Then we see it. We try to do it too. All right. So the point that I was making was that those who don't believe in the Messiah, that they don't believe that he died for their sins, and those people that claim to believe on him, believe he was European, and they believe we don't got to keep the commandments of the Most High. One of those two. And those that call themselves Jews that try to keep the Torah, they put more faith in the Talmud. They put more faith in the commentaries of the rabbis and of the sages. Even though sometimes that goes against the Torah, they still want to believe that over the Torah. The Most High got a place for people like that. You got to believe in the Torah as it is written in the first 5 books, and you got to believe that as prophesied in the first 5 books, Yahweh sent his son as a prophet, as a sacrifice, as a conqueror to save us from death, to be a deliverer. You got to believe that. And he's come already. If you don't believe it, woe be unto you. All right, so if you're just not coming in, check out this from the beginning. Read everything. Hope you get, good understanding. If you got any questions, inbox me. I'll be more than glad to help you out, help you get a better understanding. All right, so the next new moon is what? January 5th, right? The next new moon is January 5th. That's a Saturday, right? Saturday night. Next new moon is Saturday night, January, I believe it's January 5th. Saturday night, January 5th, right after the Shabath, January 5th, 7th day of the week, at night, Sabbath. After the Sabbath is over, the new moon starts. That'll be the 11th new moon. All right? It'll be 11th new moon. It'll be the 11th new moon. So what happens is that 11th new moon, that's coming up January 5th. And then you got Passover coming up on April 18th to April 19th as the first day of the holy day. And then you got April 18th to April 9th, to April 24th to April 25th as the last day of Passover. All right, so those are 2 days that we have coming up. The next new moon is on January 5th. And Passover begins at sunset of April 18th, and it's totally over. It's ended on April 25th at sunset. It's over. It's complete. And that last day, the 24th at sunset to the 25th, the 24th at sunset of April until the 25th at sunset of April. So that's the holy day. All right. So that's it. So I'm your brother with Banya Yasha Allah, Zaquan Shapat Parashah, Elder Judge Parashah, and with Mashara Yasha Allah, Zaquan Bayath Yasha Allah of the government of Israel, the elder of over or to the house of Israel. All right, your elder Parashah. Any questions, any comments regarding any of those offices, just hit me up, call me, send me an email, send me a number, I can call you. All right, hit me on the inbox. All right, Shalom Lakam, may Yahweh be with you. Yabarakaka Yahweh, wa Yashamarka, Ya Yahweh Panyawa Aliyaka, wa Yakanka, Yasha'a Yahweh Panyawa Aliyaka, wa Yashamlaka, Shalom, Bashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, Shalom Lakam.